Hello and welcome to the 76th Tour de France. It's stage 10 today, Cauterets to Luchon Superbagneres, which covers 136 kilometres. And these massive mountains are going to be a really tough test for the riders. Down there in the valley is the race route, twisting its way up into the clouds. And already we've heard that Stephen Roche, the 1987 winner of the Tour de France, is out. Yesterday he aggravated a knee injury, he was examined by the doctor and was advised to withdraw. This has caused major problems for the Fagor team. They've lost their leader, and there are doubts as to the future sponsorship of the team when it's due for renewal at the end of this year. So, with Stephen Roche on his way back to Paris, that leaves the race wide open for Greg LeMond and Laurent Fignon, battling it out with only 5 seconds separating them. Pascal Simon, Charlie Mottet and Sean Kelly have all moved up on the leaderboard to 3rd, 4th and 5th places, whilst Thierry Marie, Eric Brukink and Sean Yates have all dropped out of contention following yesterday's mountain finish at Cauterets. This shot gives you some idea of the vantage points provided by the steep rocky mountainsides where thousands of spectators are awaiting the arrival of the 185 riders tackling this 136 kilometre stage from Cauterets to Luchon Superbagneres. The chilly mist is going to make it rather cold for the riders on the descents off the top of the mountains. We're right down in the southwest corner of France with the race route today running through the Pyrenees and is virtually parallel to the Spanish border. So we're going to see lots of the Spanish supporters coming over to cheer on Pedro Delgado, who yesterday finished 3rd on the stage, but of course they're supporting him because he's last year's winner of the Tour de France. And the course will suit not only Delgado but many other mountain climbers, and a second day in which they can show their skills. And the big mountain on which they can perform first off is that Col de Tourmalet. That's an epic climb that's been included in the Tour many times in the past, and it has a fearsome reputation. The Col d'Aspin follows on, and then we have the Col de Pesseroutes. Going on then toward the finish in Luchon Superbagneres, there's quite a long climb, 16 kilometres up to the finish. But first of all, we pick up the action on the lower slopes of the Col de Tourmalet. There, out of the saddle, Pascal Richard climbing forever up and up. 63rd overall at 21 minutes and 46 seconds this morning. He's choosing to ride an aluminium bicycle, and these light bikes suiting the mountain climbers. They try and get the machine as light as possible when it comes to climbing up the big hills, and he's dropped Carlsen that was with him earlier on at the bottom of the slope of this hill, so Carlsen couldn't stand the pace. The lead of Pascal Richard confirmed at 51 seconds between himself and the head of this field. Swinging around that big left-hand hairpin, the riders at the back can take a little look up and see where the action is. And the action at the front shows that still the main jerseys are gathering to protect their positions. Some of the teams that we've not seen much of until today are beginning to come through to the front. The mountain climbers, they had a good day yesterday, and now they're having yet another go. Yellow jersey, you can see him right in the middle. The red jersey at the front, that is the colours of the national champion of Switzerland. Pascal Richard, 51 seconds lead he's got over the main field on his own. And this is the profile of the course they're tackling today. Just look at those peaks up there ahead of the riders. Long climbs, strength sapping as they go right up over the top of each of those big mountains. And down the other side, they have no time to relax because the twisting hairpins they have to descend call for split-second judgment on their bicycles. And no sooner are they down one mountain than they're going up another one. And that is what's going to happen right the way throughout the day. Chasing after that leading rider, Pascal Richard, a little splinter group beginning to form at the head of affairs. And in there, Charlie Mottet, and just behind him for the Z Peugeot squad, we can see that man, Robert Millar, with a little white hat on his head. He's 1, 2, 3, 4th in line, and just behind him there, number 143, Jonas Koom from the ADR squad. He's a Norwegian rider, so that's a Scotsman in front of him. There is Charlie Mottet out of the saddle. And just up in front of them, number 192, and that's Alfred Ackermann from Switzerland, the Domex rider. And the field lining out behind these specialists, because Millar has done very well in this area of the country before. He loves the Pyrenees, he loves the Alps. The Pyrenees perhaps more rolling in terms of the climbs, and the Alps which are shorter and sharper, but nevertheless this long test up the Tourmalet will suit Millar. Richard looking back down, he's getting a little slower. So Baladej, as we come up to this little climb ahead now, that is after some 32 kilometres have been covered in the race so far today. The top of this mountain is at 43 kilometres. Ackermann, again, of no great threat to Greg LeMond's jersey. He's 24 minutes down and he's losing contact. Well, he's blown. This is a war of attrition, typical tactics up in the mountains. The pressure at the front is constant and you're more likely to be shot off the back. And it's Millar that's doing the work. Millar has stretched them. He's gone past Cubino. He's gone off on his own and he's broken the rhythm and he's after this man, Pascal Richard, Swiss national champion. There on the front is Millar, then Mottet, then Cubino. The most amazing thing about these type of riders is it doesn't seem to hurt them. Look at them coming up now, three of them almost the same start, hands in the centre of the handlebars, twiddling quite lowish gears, rhythmical riding up the hill as if it isn't there. This is a gift, few riders have it, and those that have it benefit when we come to the mountains. And they're cutting the gap. There's Richard out the saddle. What a contrast in style. One man dancing away, the other three born mountain climbers. As Mottet eases himself, has a little look over the shoulder of Millar. And they've got him. And they look like they've dropped Cubino. Cubino is easing back. That was surprising. He looked quite comfortable earlier on. That just gives you some idea how one moment you're sitting there comfortably pedaling away and suddenly that your strength goes from your legs and you drop off, and he's gone back. Cubino had his moment at the front. He was driving quite hard to begin with on the lower slopes, but he's gone. And here we have the main field chasing after those three riders. The blue and white colours of the Reynolds squad significantly at the front, as there on the left-hand side of the picture is Delgado after that brilliant ride yesterday when he took third place, leaping up from 26th to 11th overall. And on the left-hand side there's Rooks dancing out the saddle. So all these men still trying to reinforce their positions, which they gained so well yesterday. I can see the Super U colours in the middle there. There's the yellow jersey of Greg LeMond. LeMond was criticised yesterday by Fignon for the fact that he always followed Fignon on every move, but I would expect that to happen. That's good. Millar looks like he's gone away. Mottet looking over his shoulder. He's lost Richard. Richard can't hold these two, and Mottet has got to work his way back up to Millar, who's looking absolutely relaxed. For many riders, when they see mountains like that ahead, fear strikes the heart, but for Millar, his moment has come. And Millar then, who went up from 49th place to 26th yesterday, benefiting by the big climb. Chase from behind, still the same group of riders at the front. Delgado with his henchmen round about him, protected today. I wonder what the conversation was like last night in the team hotel following Indurain's long lone break for success. Back up with the leaders, and we're down to two men. Now Robert Millar has behind him Charlie Mottet. Millar's been doing most of the driving up this hill, and it's Pascal Richard that suffered. He started the attack, Richard, and he's been blown out. And yet again, it's Millar doing the damage. Behind him, Charlie Mottet. Great all-rounder, Charlie. He's been 3 times winner of the Grand Prix des Nations. He's come into this race in fine form, and right now, he's, I think, throwing the gauntlet down to the rest of the field. In the Dauphiné Libéré, he was first and won a stage with Mottet, so he's in extremely good form. He won the 4 days of Dunkirk and also won a stage in that race. Both of those two, the Dauphiné Libéré and the 4 days of Dunkirk, are what they call pipe openers for the Tour de France, and they're used by these riders really to get the form for this big classic race. And there he is. That's the rider who started it all down at the bottom of the hill, and after something in the order of 10 kilometres on his own, up the front in the lead, joined with 2 other riders. He's now drifting back into the main field. He's got to hang on when they go through. Has he got strength to stay with these riders? 2 men in the lead. Something like 30 men consisting of what we would call the main field. It's the main peloton, but the rest of the race spread right down the slopes of the Col de Tourmalet. And there is the crowd on the top of the Col de Tourmalet. 43 kilometres will have been covered when the riders come round this bend, but we're back with the chasing group who are trying to get on equal terms with Charlie Mottet and Robert Millar, who are getting so close to the top of the climb, and then they'll be descending at great rate of knots down the other side. Tremendous group here of riders in there, just taking a drink, one of the Reynolds squad. Sorry about the break in transmission, and also someone beginning to pick up the newspapers that are being handed up to them, ready for the descent. Because when they go down the other side, it's going to be bitterly cold, and they need to protect their chests. And here is the sight of the outriding gendarmerie who press the crowd back. They try and push them over to the edge of the road to allow them more room, and it's Millar on the front, Mottet alongside him. They've been in the saddle now for 1 hour and 38 minutes since we started at Cauterets this morning. They're getting just up toward the top of this massive climb of the 2,115 metre Col de Tourmalet. You can see from the clothing that the crowd are wearing that it's quite chilly up on the top of this hill, and the riders with their thin racing vests on certainly will want some protection on the descent. And Millar has gone away so comfortably. He's dropped Mottet, and here he's looking for a newspaper, and he's got his newspaper. So's Mottet, and Mottet let him go over the top of that mountain. He couldn't hold the wheel of Millar, so Millar now scoring points, massive points in the King of the Mountains, because this is a poor category climb, and that will benefit Millar's position in the King of the Mountains. There's Pignon at the back of that little group. We were looking earlier on for him. We spotted just about every other one of the favourites in there, and Pignon certainly is in there. And there's Herrera going over the top of the climb. Herrera followed by Gertjan Theunisse, the mountain specialist, and Theunisse has just rocketed round the corner, Herrera, and getting himself some extra points. There was Greg LeMond grabbing a newspaper. They're all putting their hands out. Kelly's just snatched one, nearly took down one of the BH riders with him. Finon's got his newspaper, and there's another of the Z Peugeot squad riders at the back, climbing up the hill, trying to keep the deficit to the absolute minimum, is the polka dot jersey of Miguel Indurain, who won yesterday's stage. The clock ticking around the left-hand side show that as he goes round this corner, he's over 3 minutes down on Robert Millar, and therefore he'd be something in the order of 2.5 minutes down on his teammate Pedro Delgado. So the situation being reversed now, topsy-turvy this race, because now Delgado is ahead of Indurain, as one of the riders here stops to put the newspaper up his front, and then will rejoin and drop down with the rest of the field. So disappointment today for Indurain, whose legs must really be hurting after that tremendously long lone ride he did to win the stage. And that polka dot jersey, he should be scoring a fair number of points, but he might well find a new owner by the time we get to the finish in Luchon Superbagneres later on today.
We make the ultimate...
We make the ultimate business PC.
So do we.
And so do we. Ours has faster data retrieval, so it's ready to start work the minute you are. Ours has the sharpest, most realistic graphics available. Ours has a storage capacity of up to 65 megabyte hard disk with 4 megabyte RAM. And prices start from
only £599 plus VAT.
Any computer company would be proud to have made the 2000 series, but at these prices, only one can. Amstrad.
How do they do it?
Out now, TV Guide, featuring the 30-something team revealing true love, yuppie style. Into the ring with Frank Bruno, packing the punches as the presenter of People. From innocent victim to mass murderer, we talk to Art Malik, star of a shocking new miniseries. Also, actress Dawn Prescott returning to the street for another dangerous liaison. Plus, the only comprehensive weekly guide to satellite TV, highlighting the best on the box. TV Guide, out now.
And as they join the race, climbing up the first category hill of the Col de Peyresourde, these three riders now broken away from the main pack. They have been joined by Delgado. That has got to be the ride of the day, because Mottet and Millar set a fast pace up the Tourmalet. And here's Charlie Mottet, fourth overall at 4 minutes and 9 seconds when we started out this morning. And there's Robert Millar in 26th place at 10 minutes and 13 seconds. Now he's taking his hat off to get some cooling breeze through his hair with that little ponytail at the back, following the fashion set by Laurent Fignon. But the man who has no desire to be fashionable, Delgado, except to wear the yellow jersey, is with those two men at the front, making three. Pascal Richon in the red jersey in the centre was the fellow who really sorted the action out when they attacked the Col de Tourmalet, first to go, and caused a lot of trouble in the ranks behind them. Been a regrouping on the way down the Tourmalet, but still quite a sizable bunch of riders at the front, and PDM massing on the front here as they're trying to keep the pace up and prevent the breakaway of Delgado and Mottet from damaging their chances of overall success. Back with the leaders as Charlie Mottet looking extremely comfortable in third place, but Delgado is doing really, again, the ride of his life in this tour. Did a superb bridging gap yesterday when he went across and finished third when Indurain won the stage. Indurain was way off over the top of the Col de Tourmalet, and so Delgado really reinforcing his position as a team captain of the Reynolds squad. There was some doubt after his disappointment in missing the start at the time trial, and then the difficulty that Delgado had in sitting with his team in the team time trial. But now he's just showing that he's the man they've got to defend, and there's no sign of blue and white jerseys on the front. That is typical tactics. The Reynolds riders will have dropped back to allow the chase to be conducted by others, and the PDM boys at the front really working hard for Sean Kelly. There's the yellow jersey of Greg LeMond seen over the shoulder. There's the green jersey of Sean Kelly. And we understand that the leading group have got a lead of something like about 4 minutes, so technically on the road, the yellow jersey will go off the shoulders of Greg LeMond in the middle of this pack and onto the shoulders of Charlie Mottet. There's a long way to go yet. They've only done something in the order of 100 kilometres. There's still 36 kilometres to go. Well, it looks to me, with this three-man group still pressing on at good speed, that it's Millar that's doing a lot of the work. A wonderful shot down there. They've all been taken in turns, but of the three of them, Mottet doesn't appear to be doing too much at the front. That's not surprising when technically he's going to be the leader of the race if they keep this up. I think you want to keep something in reserve and let a mountain specialist like Millar tow him up this hill, and Delgado also providing a certain amount of shelter for him as they climb up and up, ever upwards. What a terrible day they've had today in the mountains. Enormous climbs, the sun beating down. This is the way they get dehydrated when the sun is coming down like this out of the sky, and the gap 4 minutes and 40 seconds between the three leaders, Millar, Delgado and Mottet. Off the back of the chasing group, Luis Herrera struggling. He should have been up there driving this one on, but he's having difficulty holding on to the chasing group, who are still trying to pull back the three men who've left them in arrears, and it must be getting towards 5 minutes now for these three riders. Well, Mottet on the front of these three now. He's come into action, got some more life, and he's driving this break on. Chance for Delgado to have something to eat, reaching into their pockets on the way through the 85-kilometre point. They went through what we call a feed station. There they handed up the little bags with the strings on top so they could put them over their shoulders, then search for the food inside and transfer it to their back pockets. And of course the big thing today is not only food to eat, but it's drink, because out there they're dehydrating in this sun, and none of these riders really carry an ounce of spare fat. Just look at Millar, typical mountain climber, very sparse, thin body, good power to weight ratio, an enormous lung power too these riders have got. Slow heartbeat under normal resting conditions allows them under these terribly hard conditions to tackle the climbs up and up and up. The oxygen getting thinner the further up they go. Mainfield seems to have lost its impetus. Oh, that's a nice move too. Indurain is up in that little group, the King of the Mountains that went over the top of the Col de Tourmalet, way off the pace, has got back with that group, so he's obviously got second wind. Some of these riders can recover towards the end of a race, and also another man getting back, number 51 for Cape de Colombia. Luis Herrera has made the safety of the main pack again. Well, referring to this as the main pack, of course, the spread all the way down the road behind are the leftover riders from the 185 that started off this morning. There's only about 40 riders in this chasing group heading after the three men in the lead. Urged on by the crowd and spectators running alongside to give them even more encouragement, these three riders heading up toward the top of this climb. A good descent down the other side before they attack the final big climb of the day. They're looking remarkably comfortable, and Millar on the front, Delgado in second place, Charlie Mottet in third. The Spanish flags are out again along the course, because once again we're only something like 15 to 20 kilometers from the Spanish border, and they love to see their riders perform. Yesterday we had 3 Spaniards in the first 3 places, and today in this 3-man group we've got one from Great Britain, the Scotsman Robert Millar at the front. In between is Delgado, the Spanish rider, and behind is Charlie Mottet from France, as these 3 riders heading up toward the top of the climb. Millar it is doing the work on the front, chasing after that coveted spotted jersey of the King of the Mountains, and Millar this year, that's the one he's come to this race to win. He hasn't got it yet. Indurain has recovered and got back to the chasing pack behind him, and it's up to Millar to score the points that he can do at the top of this climb. He'll also get, of course, some reward for that, because he earned 3,000 French francs for winning the big climb up the Col de Tourmalet. And on this one, a first category climb, there's another 1,000 French francs at stake for Millar if he can get over the top in first place. But of course, it's the points he's after, and there's a sign, Cape de Colombia. That's the finishing line at the top of the Col de Pesur, and it's Millar that takes it, Delgado in second place, and Mottet is third. 3 hours, 22 minutes and 30 seconds they've been in the saddle since they left Cauterets this morning. And still the main field trying to catch those breakaways. It's a very, very hot day in the saddle. Spectators handing up water to these riders, which they not only drink but pour all over themselves as well. But they don't need to put too much water on, as off the back there is Luis Herrera. He's been dropped on the climb. He's got back several times. He really has a yo-yo day today, Herrera. The speed has shot up as they're getting towards the top of the climb, and out of the saddle, Rooks and Theunisse begin to wind it up, and that is the spotted jersey of the King of the Mountain, Indurain alongside them. The first 3 have gone over the line, and these riders are contesting the points for the King of the Mountains jersey. So we're going to have a good sprint here for 4th, 5th and 6th place, and up the top of the climb. That's Rooks. Followed on behind is Theunisse, and then in the spotted jersey, Indurain, who took that jersey yesterday after that enormously long breakaway, which left the rest of the field floundering in his wake when he won the stage in such convincing style. The gap now on the left-hand side of the screen shows that the leaders have gone over the top of the mountains in 4 minutes and 10 seconds. Let's see what it is when they cross below that Cape de Colombia banner. The clock will tell us the gap from those 3 leaders who are down the other side of the mountain, dropping like stone. There it is, 4:23 is the gap. So the riders putting the newspapers up their fronts to stop the chill as it will blow through those thin jerseys, and there they go.
From Paxton to Hexham, from Oxford to Wrexham, from Sussex through Essex to Wessex. The Halifax Building Society last year provided more money for house buyers than anyone else in the United Kingdom. Yes, over £10,000 million from the Halifax, the world's #1 building society.
Get a little extra help from the Halifax.
NEC Trans World Sports.
What a tremendous sight of the Tour de France. The hairpin bends. This is classic climbing country as those three leaders working their way up this great mountain to the finish, and the enormous crowd that is awaiting their arrival. Behind them, just 4 minutes and 15 seconds at the last time check, is this group with Pascal Simon leading them up the mountain. Pace seems to have dropped. You can tell when they're right away across from grass verge to grass verge that the speed is not so high, and that will suit the three leaders. Pascal Simon in the centre with the sun specs and the yellow headband, who's 17th last year in the Tour de France and wants to do better this year, but he's got to protect his teammate Laurent Fignon. We're looking at the back of that little group right now. There is another of the Z Peugeot squad, number 63, Bruno Collier. There is Pascal Richard. We just saw him on the right-hand side. He was the man who really had a good go to try and get the Col de Tourmalet, and then he was caught. For the Shadow Dax squad there, number 177, and that's Alberto Volpi, one of the Italians in this group, chasing after the leaders. On the left-hand side, another of the Shadow Dax riders as well, and I think that's Gianni Bugno, because he was well placed on the general classification this morning, and he's got to stay in there. He was 7th this morning at 5:24. Pascal Simon, that's him with the sun specs, 17th last year, 53rd the year before, 13th in 86, 20th in 85, 7th in 84, man with tremendous skill and experience. And this is the sort of race where you have to know how to judge your effort perfectly down to the last pedal rev. They've all got to get to the top of this hill just with enough strength left in the legs to cross the line. There's Kelly, reaching into his pockets for something to eat. And no, in fact, he's checking the distance. He's just taken out the distance of the course. He will have a little route map in his pocket with the distance marked on it. I don't think Kelly's riding with one of these cyclometers on. Many of them do, and then they can check how far it is from the finish by looking down at their cyclometer. Three leaders being encouraged to put a bit more effort in as they climb up, and it's Delgado that's been sent to the front to push the speed up and up as they climb this hill. Still looking remarkably comfortable. Seldom do you see Delgado with pain on his face. He's got a lovely smooth pedaling style. What a sharp contrast we've got between these three riders. Millar best known for his mountain climbing ability, moving through to the front. Charlie Mottet, a great time trialist and winner of short stage races. And Delgado, last year's winner of the Tour. Well, we've got a race on our hands this year. Many people have written Delgado off, and these riders recognise now they've got to watch every move. They didn't watch him get away. He went off on his own, and Pascal Simon still driving at the front. And the PDM riders coming through. Rooks beginning to move. I thought the speed had gone down too slowly, and it's 3:52. They are clawing their way back up to those three leaders, and Rooks has decided it's time he went, and he's opened up quite a sizable gap. He's looking back. Is this a true attack? And Le Mans gone for him. Le Mans is crossing that gap. He recognises that Rooks, who's a very, very smooth mountain climber and last year's King of the Mountains, has got the capacity and ability to climb up this hill and fetch back the three leaders. So Le Mans has gone across to his wheel. Le Mans is following everything that moves quickly, and Fignon has got to do the same thing. He cannot allow Le Mans to get even further away from him, so Fignon will respond. A great move by Rooks, but he hasn't broken the field up. That's the first tester, the first shot in the locker by the PDM riders. Still Rooks on the front, and Le Mans looking back to see where Fignon is. Well, he's right behind him, and so that is all over and done with. A moment of relaxation again for the leading three. They're looking back to see what damage they've done to the rest of that bunch, still chasing after the three leaders. Well, this could be the tactics of the PDM squad. They've got at least three riders in that bunch, because Kelly rides for them. On the left-hand side, Gert-Jan Theunisse in the white jersey with the black epaulets with the PDM logo on. Right-hand side was Rooks. But these three riders in front got some team support in the main field, but the gap is coming down all the time. This looks like Urs Zimmermann of the Carrera squad. We've not seen much of him at all in the race so far, and he's sat in that main bunch. He's had a very, very quiet tour, and he's really got to do something, I think, to get his name up there on the headlines, because it's not been a good tour for him. He's 31st overall at the moment, 11 minutes and 8 seconds down. Still the three leaders working their way up towards the mountaintop finish. Simmons seems to have lost his impetus. He launched an attack there, 31st at 11.8. Very tall, gangling rider, but he seems to have shot his bolt. Got himself something like 30, 40 metres lead. It will not be enough. I think he was hoping to get somebody else to come up and join him. Still working hard, but will need support. Kelly's at the back of this little bunch, and alongside him, Pascal Richard, the champion of Switzerland. There's Kelly, 5th, 4:52 this morning, and these are the three leaders. Delgado, what an all-rounder he is. Not only did he win the race last year, this great Tour de France, but also Delgado in the King of the Mountains competition did well as well. And it's Rooks coming up. Rooks is the man who won the King of the Mountains. On the left-hand side of the picture, they're reeling in Zimmerman, who had a go, but he's not going to make it. And up comes the ever-present, effervescent Greg LeMond in that yellow jersey. He's marking every move from this, and he's got a bit of a gap. There looks like about 2 lengths between him and Fignon. Is he going to try and persist with that? I don't think so. He's eased back. He's let Fignon come up to him, and Rooks is going yet again. Rooks looking calm, so Fignon's gone to Rooks. Well, this is a tremendous sort out from the chasing group. They keep firing off one man after the other, and it's whittled it right down. The gaps are opening up. There's no more than about 8 or 9 men there. And Kelly, who was at the back of that chasing group when we last saw him, will have to work hard to get up there. I don't know whether he went back because he was tired or whether he just went back and sat there. If so, it's split. There is another surprise. Indurain has lost contact with the chasers, and there's Kelly, and there is Herrera and Pascal Simon. Some very, very talented riders cannot hold the pace at the front. Stretched out in the distance, that's the group containing LeMond, and the 2 PDM boys have put the hammer down. Rooks has gone, Theunisse has gone. Well, they've been trying to pull this one for some time up the hill. They've been taking it in turns to attack, and finally they've broken the elastic and they're away. Rooks and Theunisse, this is a brilliant piece of riding by these 2 chaps who are now, I'm sure, going to work like a tandem to try and pull back the 3 in front and behind. The rest will have to see what they can do about it. Almost matching sizes of bikes, almost matching in style, these 2 riders. Theunisse, though, with the long flowing locks. And last year on the King of the Mountains, it was Rooks that won the King of the Mountains. Theunisse that was second behind him. Both of them then riding for the same team. The team that now has Kelly in its ranks, but they've had to leave Kelly behind to do what he can to protect his green points jersey as they set about getting up to the 3 leaders. And it's Fignon, followed by Hampston, followed by LeMond. These 3 recognise that Theunisse and Rooks constitute a threat to their positions, because both those 2 at the moment, Rooks started out this morning in 16th place, 7 minutes 26 seconds down. Fignon started out in 2nd place, just 5 seconds down. Hampston here was 6th this morning at 5:14, and this is the leader in the yellow jersey, concentrating on what he has to do to hold on to that yellow jersey. What a tremendous day for him. And there in the group is the Paternina leader, Marino Lajareta. Lajareta this morning in 10th place, just 6 minutes and 8 seconds down on the yellow jersey. So just about anybody's in that, but Pascal Simon's been blown out. Mottet's gone with the lead, and so the leaders have gone through the 5 kilometre to go point. These are the 2 still causing trouble, and they are at 2 minutes and 32 seconds. They really have put the pressure on, and there is the yellow Mavic car. That one will drop in behind them to service them if they have a problem. Their team car will be wedged behind this group. They will not be allowed to overtake. And so the judges making sure that it's a clean, straight race to the top of this hill by keeping the team cars out of the way and just letting the riders battle it out, as it's Fignon looking back and it's getting very dull and very cold, and the further up this big mountain they go, the more chilly it is. But it'll be a very hot reception for these riders, and we're seeing the cream coming through to the top this time. There's no doubt about it, the riders who go over the top in the top 10 places today are going to be those that we're going to watch when we get to the big mountains in the Alps, because tomorrow it flattens off somewhat and we head in for about 4 stages of flatness, and 3 minutes 40 seconds is the gap between the 3 leaders and this group that we see, and wedged in between them, these are the two at just over 2 minutes. Fignon is working so hard at the front, and the 3 minute 40-second gap is still there, so it looks as if that yellow jersey will stay on the shoulders of Greg LeMond if he keeps this up, because this morning he had a gap of some 4 minutes and 9 seconds on Mottet, and there is Mottet in the middle of these three, and with the sign showing 4 kilometers to go, it's Delgado taking up the work.
Video recorders with text programming. So irresistibly easy to program, it puts an end to the horror. This is Fignon's group, and at the tail there, number 71 for the B8 squad was Alvaro Pino, another very great climber. Fignon still stretching them at the front with Hampsten behind him and LeMond. This is the order we've seen way back down the road. Still the same combination of riders. Fignon pushing quite a big gear. Look how smooth Hampsten's legs are going round. An enormous contrast in styles. Then we get LeMond. Behind him, Eric Cauterets. And in there too, I think that's Fabrice Philippot for the Toshiba squad. No, it's not. It's one of the Patanina riders that's worked his way up, and that's Marino Lajareta. Fignon on the front. One on the back of his jersey showing that he is the leader of the Super U squad. Laurent Fignon, number 41. Then Andy Hampsten for the 7-11 squad in second spot. They maintain these same positions for a long time, but these two are changing the order, taking it in turns to press on. First and second last year in the King of the Mountains competitions. They know what it's like to climb, and so does Fignon, but he's still pushing that quite big gear. He came into this race after the Tour of Italy, which he won in such convincing style, saying that he was very fit, he felt good, and he's had 1 or 2 problems, has Fignon, for the last couple of years or so. And everybody had begun to say that perhaps Fignon is over the top. Well, he certainly isn't this year. He's battling his way and trying to win the Tour yet again. He won it in 83, he won it in 84, and only 2 riders have ever come back with such a gap as we've got this time, 6 years, to win the yellow jersey yet again. So Fignon's trying to battle against history, and he's really gritting his teeth. Hampsten behind him, then there is LeMond, then Lajareta, then Cauterets. And Pino for the French, and oh yes, Alcala in there too, is it, or De Silva? One of the PDM riders has also made it up to it as well. I think that's Raul Alcala. That is jolly good riding. The PDM have really taken this race by the scruff of the neck today. They've got 2 away and 1 in this group. Kelly, unfortunately, has lost contact with this chasing group in his green jersey now way back behind them, and these are the three leaders. Yet again, the Spaniards turning out with 3 kilometres to go, and Delgado is looking convincingly strong, and Millar is beginning to lose contact as Delgado winding it up. He'll prefer this long, steady stretch of road, will Delgado. Millar would like it to go a little steeper, and that would suit him to launch an attack on these two. So possibly Millar's tactics are to sit behind the two in front, who are really the leaders at the moment. Millar not bothering to do any work. He's certainly done his share to win that big climb up the Tourmalet, and here it's back at 3 minutes and 12 seconds for these two chasers. Well, it was down to 2.5 minutes at one time, so despite the speed at which they're travelling, the three leaders still have a convincing advantage, and with the distance still to go to the finish, very doubtful that these two can catch them. But remember, this great Tour de France is all about time. Ever since it was first founded way back in 1903, and this is the 76th variety of it all, they take the time of the riders, and it's the rider that covers the distance in the shortest possible time that will win the race into Paris on the 23rd of July. Fignon, having done so much to drive that chasing group up to the two chasers chasing 3. So let's recap: 3 men in the front, then 2, then this bunch, and that's the way it is as they head up towards the mountains. And at the top, this anxious crowd will be checking their watches to see if the yellow jersey will stay on the shoulders of Greg LeMond, as will be the team manager of the ADR squad, because they have been thankful for the publicity they've obtained through Greg LeMond so far. But can he just hang on to those few vital seconds? And the man that's going to benefit most of all from this break is in the middle of this 3-man group. That is Charlie Mottet. Behind him is Robert Millar, and it's Delgado that's doing all the work. Delgado yesterday on the long climb up to the finish at Cauterets really left the chasers and stormed off on his own, and what a tremendous performance he's giving before this enormous crowd of spectators, many of them coming over from Spain to cheer the riders on to the finish, and up there in the distance, that is where they will end today's agony. This little bit of a flatter part of the course certainly suiting Delgado. Mottet behind him. Millar still not doing any work. He's done very, very little at the moment as Millar. He's left it to Delgado on the front. And here the two riders, 11 and 18, Rooks and Theunisse, as Theunisse pouring water all over his long flowing blonde locks. And this is still Fignon. He with a ponytail, and behind him another tail of riders, and some of the greatest riders in the world are not only just behind Fignon, but are all the way down the mountainside, because that tremendous race at the front with Delgado, with Mottet and Millar, has really left the rest of them struggling. And here they are up through this enormous crowd, the motorcycles in front pushing the crowds back to make sure they don't get in the way of the riders, as Delgado's still working on the front. What a shame in some respects it'll be if he doesn't win this stage, because he is the one that's taking these two up in his slipstream all the way to the top of the hill. And the Spaniards again going mad, and Delgado shaking his fist at them, and he's shouting at them to get out of the way, and Delgado has eased forward. He's got at least a couple of lengths lead. For my money, this is the strongest man, and it's Delgado opening up, and he's going. Mottet's got nothing left to answer him. Millar's still in third place, but has Millar judged it to come off Mottet's wheel and try and get Delgado back again? They know this climb very well indeed. They've been up it before. Millar has closed the gap, and Delgado has got Millar back with him. It's Mottet that's struggling the most of these three. They're unconcerned, I think, with the chase from behind, and this is the attack of Delgado that split Mottet off the back. Mottet's job now is to hang on for every vital second to see if he can get that yellow jersey. He may not get the stage, but he may get the yellow jersey. Well, what a race we've had today, a battle for the yellow jersey, but here for Delgado, yet again stamping his authority on the race, which, had it not been for that problem on the first day in the prologue when he missed his start, we might have seen him going for that yellow jersey for the second year in succession. He's got the time to wave his hands at the spectators to get out of the way, looking very calm, looking very strong. Millar nodding his head. Millar's beginning to rock a little bit. Millar hasn't been rocking like this all day. Delgado's still full of power, full of fight, and Millar's dropping back. This looks like Delgado's stage if he can keep this up. Delgado now has about 5 lengths lead over Millar, and he's gone. This is brilliant. We had a win yesterday for his team and his countrymen out there in Durand. Delgado finished in 3rd place yesterday, and there with the red kite showing it's 1 kilometre to go, a solid wall of Spanish sound is urging him on to this stage victory. Delgado looks back. Can Millar recover? Can Mottet recover? Well, Millar is putting up a spirited fight. Delgado looking down, shaking his head. All he wants is shouts of encouragement. And Millar is closing the gap. Bit by bit, Millar looks like he's closing the gap. Delgado launches attack, and back there in the chasing field, that is Lejarreta, another of the Spanish riders, and I think he's left the group. Lejarreta having a go. Well, the Spanish crowd today certainly having got something to cheer. Delgado on his way trying to win the stage. Lejarreta now broken clear of the group, which included the yellow jersey and Laurent Fignon, and Millar is back with Delgado. Millar up to the back wheel of Delgado. Well, he blew and Delgado showed him a clean back wheel. Millar's fought his way up to the leader on the right-hand side with the sunglasses. That's last year's winner of this great Tour de France, Pedro Delgado. Millar eased himself out of the saddle. Was it an attack, or was he just getting comfortable to have yet another go? Just look at the face of Delgado, normally composed, normally relaxed, and look at Millar sweating profusely, and there up in front of them they can see the finish banner. Delgado's got to put in another burst of speed. Millar's got to come off his wheel if he wants to win this one. Millar has won in Luchon in '83. Millar, who took the King of the Mountain in '84, and they go up over the top towards the finish banner. Still Delgado working away. Millar still on his wheel, and behind the chase for 3rd place, because Mottet is losing ground. Mottet is not only losing ground, that is the gap that exists between him and Delgado and Millar on the front, but also the chasers after him. That gap of over 4 minutes could be coming down the way that Lejarreta went after them. What a race we've got here, and what a contrast in style. Millar, born to climb mountains. Delgado, a great all-rounder. Delgado still on the front. Millar will have an advantage from it. And the two riders side by side, some few hundred meters to go. They can see the finish now. Delgado is still working his way at the front. Can Millar come up his wheel? Delgado getting out the saddle, only 250 meters to go. It looks like he's going to take it. Millar will be happy, I think, with the points for the King of the Mountains as Delgado starts to wind it up. Millar sat alongside him, back with the chasing group as Hampston goes on the front. Fignon's behind him, still in there too is the yellow jersey. These are the two going up to win the stage. Will Delgado get it? Will Millar get it? Coming off the wheel, Millar tries to go the long way around the outside. He's gone past Delgado. Millar chose the time to go. That surprised Delgado, I think, because he dropped him further down the hill. But Millar's going on. Delgado's coming back to him, but he hasn't got the strength. Millar, with 25 meters to go, has put his head down. He's got yet another success on the top of the mountains. Millar succeeds for Great Britain, and Peugeot. Delgado in 2nd place for Reynolds Squad, and in 3rd place they're going to have to watch where Mottet's got to. The clock ticking away, and the cheers will go out from the French supporters because he's going over the line in only around about 20 seconds down on the leaders. The clock on the right hand side at 4:22. So how much gap will he have between himself now and the yellow jersey of Greg LeMond? He started out this morning, did Mottet, 4 minutes and 9 seconds down on the leaders as this enormous traffic jam behind them of the team cars turning off the finishing straight. They've got to keep it clear as Lejarreta at 41 seconds behind the leader and winner of the stage, Robert Millar, and they're breaking up, and here's the group down now to just some 5 men. Fignon is beginning to struggle. LeMond this morning, 5 seconds separated these two. We've got a race within a race. Now watch this. Fignon this morning was 5 seconds behind. He's gone. He's trying to get that jersey. Fignon having a go now. He started out 5 seconds behind Le Monde, and he's really rocketed. And a reply from Le Monde. This is a race within a race. Can Le Monde hold on and keep Fignon in sight? Just 5 seconds separated them this morning. Fignon has had a go, and I don't think he's going to make it because Le Monde is getting back to him. Fignon looks back to see where Le Monde has got to. Perhaps he'll have to wait another day as he closes the gap, and all Le Monde will do now is just sit close to the back wheel of Fignon. He has to do nothing more than stay within 5 seconds of Fignon and finish within 4 minutes of Mottet, who's already resting up there at the top of the hill. This is what the Tour de France is all about. Men straining against the might of the mountains to cut those vital seconds from each other's lead. And Le Monde replied, his head's gone down, he's lost his momentum. Does Fignon know he's lost him? Fignon going away, Le Monde searching down into the very depths for some more strength to try and stay within those 5 seconds. Fignon, that's a good gap he's got now. Well, my goodness, this may... Fignon absolutely rocked away, and Le Monde's head's gone down. He is absolutely out. He's fought a tremendous fight today. He stayed with Fignon, and they're coming up past him, but it's the clock he's racing against now. It's not just against the rest of the riders. Le Monde in that yellow jersey came back after that terrible shooting accident to go yet again and fight with the best in the world on bicycles, and Le Monde really desperately trying to keep that yellow jersey on his shoulders as into 4th and 5th place comes on the left-hand side Rooks, on the right-hand side Theunisse. That's 4th and 5th, and behind them there's Cauterets coming up the hill. We're not so much concerned now about the gap between these riders, but is Mottet going to take the yellow jersey? Will Fignon be up there? It's 3 minutes and 13 seconds. Actually, Mottet came in about 20 seconds down, and here's Fignon. So Mottet, I don't think he's going to get the yellow jersey, but Fignon coming up now toward the top of that climb. What will be the gap between Fignon and Le Monde? As the people there clicking their old watches to see what the gap is. Let's hope we get a shot of Le Monde coming over the line, because it's now some 9 seconds since Fignon's gone over the line. And there's Le Monde. He might have lost the jersey. I reckon there was 10 seconds between Le Monde and Fignon, but that is unofficial from our commentary point here. We'll have to wait and see, but it could be that Fignon has taken the yellow jersey. And there's confirmation of the result. Robert Millar, a fine first place, 4 hours, 22 minutes and 19 seconds. Equal on time with Delgado. Mottet in 3rd place, Rooks back in 4th, and Theunisse in 5th place. What a brilliant ride for Millar. He's not been up on the victory rostrum since way back in 1984, and this stage success today will give him a lot of pleasure, that I am sure. And there he is up on the victory rostrum with his bouquet of flowers. The crowd here at Luchon know what it's like to applaud Robert Millar. They've done it before and they're doing it again. A very fine ride. It's also lifted him up into 8th place on general classification. And there it's confirmed, Fignon has got the yellow jersey. He's just got 7 seconds advantage over Le Monde after that mad dash for the line. Charlie Mottet, too, a fine performance today. He's moved up into 3rd place overall at 57 seconds. Pedro Delgado, just look at that too. Some people have written him off, but he's in 4th place at 2 minutes and 53 seconds. And Andy Hampson, the American rider, has moved up into 5th. But the yellow jersey goes to Laurent Fignon, winner in 83 and 84. And I'm sure the whole of France is going to hold their breath to see if this man can keep it right the way through to Paris. So a great win for Britain's Robert Millar. He took today's 10th stage, and Pedro Delgado took 2nd place. So he's moved up from 11th to 4th, so watch out for him. But Laurent Fignon is now the overall leader from Greg LeMond. The race is really on. We hope you'll join us again tomorrow for Stage 11, Luchon to Blagnac. But for now, goodbye.